The NBS visit was prompted by the visits generated by the killings in southern Kaduna and the backlash of the crisis. The NBA team, led by its president, Abubakar Mahmood, visited the governor of the state, Nasiru El-Rufai, and he gave a detailed background to what led to the crisis. He stressed the need for the community to live in peace to attract necessary infrastructure that will develop this area.
It's for this reason that we felt that some of the immediate issues that perhaps need to be addressed is for all concerned stakeholders and for us as a bar association to appeal for moderation, to appeal to stakeholders to tone down their rhetorics, and on the part of political leaders, especially Your Excellency yourself, to appeal for more tact and statesmanship in the handling of the situation, and to appeal to other leaders, political, religious leaders, to show more, demonstrate more caution in the way things are going on. There are a number of other legislations, including the Child Rights Act and other similar legislation which we feel the state should promote, especially as they become very contentious in many of the states, especially in the northern part of the country. But with a person like you, who has not only a very good understanding of legal issues, we cannot approach these solely as a law and order matter. That there needs to be a broad strategy of engaging with all the communities and trying to find solutions around, well, we have to enforce laws and orders, but we also have to understand the constraints of this strategy.
We will not allow people to burn our state with their pens. We can all write, but education, profession, and experience gives all of us a burden of responsibility. It was a purely local matter. It had nothing to do with foreigners this time around. And from then on, many other things came in to make the situation more complicated. So I'm saying this because for us, peace in the state is a priority. And we've done whatever we can to achieve that. We have invested significantly in providing logistics to federal security agencies to ensure peace in the state. But I must say that peace is a choice people make. No amount of law enforcement, no amount of deployment of military and police presence can ensure peace unless people decide, communities decide to live and be tolerant of one another and refer any disputes to community leaders or law enforcement. The moment people believe that they can take the law into their own hands and settle disputes the way they deem fit, there is a problem. And I think that's what has happened in southern Kaduna. People like to look at what has been happening in the last few months and generalize or draw stylized conclusions. They are wrong. The southern Kaduna violence is a 36-year-old problem. It has been there for a while. We are just having to face it, and I hope end it, because I'm determined to do that. What has been happening in southern Kaduna is that since 1980, when we had the first outbreak of ethnic and religious violence in Kasuwan Magani, is that people, you know, all the incidents, about 10 of them, happen in an interestingly consistent fashion. It always begins with a dispute between two people. One of the disputants would be a Muslim, one would be a Christian, or one of the disputants would be Hausa, Fulani, Kanuri, whatever, and the other would be Katab, Baju, whatever. Now, this dispute between two people, instead of being resolved at the personal level, by either community leaders, religious leaders, or law enforcement agents, becomes unresolved and leads to violence between two of them. And the moment one is wounded or one is killed, it becomes elevated into a group conflict in which the Muslims, the Hausa, Fulani take sides with one, and the Christians, Baju, Katab, take sides with another. The next step is killings, destruction of property. The third step is curfew. The fourth step is relaxing of the curfew and setting up of a commission of inquiry. And then you have all kinds of delegations coming to Government House to offer solutions, to offer suggestions. The commission of inquiry sits, identifies perpetrators, story ends.
White paper.
Okay? A white paper is prepared, put in the drawer, and we move on and wait for the next violence. No one in the history of Kaduna State, except in one case, which I will come back to, has ever been prosecuted. And we are doing the death toll. We are going through all the reports of the commissions of inquiry from 1980. We will soon publish a factual narrative of what has happened in Kaduna State, not the nonsense on social media or the kind of hate speech being published by all manners of people, and I will come to that as well. But by our estimates, between 10 and 20,000 people have been killed in Kaduna State in this kind of cycles of violence from 1980. This current one is not even close to the worst. Okay. Every human life is important, so we are not understating the gravity of the situation, but I'm just saying there was a case in which 3,000 people were slaughtered, recorded without any doubt, and no one paid for it. And this is the problem, in our opinion. Okay? Now, there was only one case in which people were prosecuted. That was the Zangon Katab crisis of 1992. There were two rounds of violence. The federal government, under President Babangida, established a military tribunal, Justice Okadigbo, judicial tribunal headed by Justice Okadigbo, and people were tried, some were exonerated, some were sentenced to death. The death sentence was commuted to imprisonment and ultimately pardoned. So really, there was no consequence. This is the problem. What we are dealing with is 35 years of impunity. People have learned to believe. Everyone in Kaduna State has come to believe that I can kill without consequence, so long as I hide behind religion or ethnicity. We have to draw a line on the sand and send a very clear message that this is unacceptable, and we intend to do so. Okay? So that is a brief of the situation. Now, I have made allusion.
In Kafanchan, the NBA team met with the officer in charge of the community, Bello Ahmed, who also briefed the team.
Any ideas that you may have that will assist us in defining our role in this whole process?
We are not saying there were no crises in those areas. There were crises. But honestly, it's been amplified. I urge you to go into every nook and cranny of these areas. Somebody will be in Lagos, in Abuja, he will be tweeting and be sending wrong signals. Go into the hinterland, interact, talk to everybody, and I believe you may come up with a better judgment of this issue.
The first crisis point visited by the group was Goska, which has become a shadow of itself. The villagers are still counting their losses. Shallow graves, sign of bullet penetration told the story of the villagers' bitter experience. Even the animals felt the impact of the crisis.
Said the assailants were from Dangoma. That's the next village, Dangoma. The Fulani is from Dangoma.
We discovered that they are using a kind of powder. In fact, we were lucky. One of the powders fell and we picked it. You see this This is what they use for burning the houses.
Yes, sir. Let's snap it. Let's snap it. Okay?
The team proceeded to Dangoma and Barikin Kogi, villages where counter-allegations were made.
They are trying to just pull us into their crisis. Despite the fact that we people are just running away from or are trying to dodge their crisis, but they are trying to force us or match us with their crisis. Throughout, we have been here for more than 500 years. More than 500 years, I'm saying this with confidence. There's no a single plot, even 50 by 50, that we buy from anybody. This is to prove that we didn't come and meet somebody here.
The NBA also engaged interested parties on how lasting peace can be restored in the communities, but however, expressed fear over the volatile nature of the community and its effect on the next farming season.
People are sleeping, thinking sometime you can't see anybody for the home. They are running go another side. But when the security people that are coming now, they will be okay. Through the fact, even me, I'm not free because of the food that we farm for the farm. That's our benefit. But as past, the security, if they say let them follow us go there, they'll say cannot go there. They say because they don't give them right to go bush. They say they then sit down for the area and surround the area. So that's why they say let the community and talk about how comes to settle about that Fulani people that enter bush anytime they are leaving food. If you enter bush now, you see say a Fulani people who put in the couch, they are eating the beans and eating the every.
We have to speak the truth to one another. We have to come out very sincerely and truthfully to say to one another that we have done wrong. Either the Fulani, the Hausa, the Muslims, the Christians, each have done a very grave wrong to one another. And let us come and sit and look at these things and chart the way forward.
And we're sure that with the right support and the right intervention by leaders and by political leaders especially, that enough goodwill and enough reconciliation will be built in order to overcome this incessant and cycle of violence. We discussed with the Commissioner of Police, who was with us throughout the journey, and he has assured us and also assured the community that enough efforts will be made to resolve these issues so as to allow the villagers to have access to their farmlands.
Victims of the crisis used the opportunity of the NBA's visit to plead with both the federal and the Kaduna state government to go into the root of the clash to prevent recurrence. Wumi Obabori, AIT News, Kafanchan.